I'd like to just come on to some closing comments really now. I mean, first of all, really interesting to get the lay of the land and set the foundations. How as asset services in 2025 do you differentiate yourselves? Shiraz, what first comes to mind given everything we've spoken about today?
We are all asset servicer, but we all have our own strength. Let's be very clear. So again, from a BNP Paribas perspective, 2 or 3 key, I would say, dimensions that I would like to highlight. Number one, again, insight, quality of information, knowledge remain key for our clients. So what we have built, it's over the years, it's our multi-local global platform. That's very key. So it's what I'm going to highlight. It's, let's say, I will put it as multi-building blocks, multi-local, global, multi-segment. Again, we are supporting the buy side, such kind of asset owner and asset manager, but also the financial intermediaries, and more the financial sponsors, more on the alternative way. There, I will say multi-channel. Again, how do we communicate? How do we interact with our client? We have talked a number of elements around new tools available. But more importantly, an integrated bank model. So again, an asset servicer backed up by a universal bank where we can bring, in terms of additional solution, everything from our global market, from an execution standpoint, from a global banking on the cash management side. So this is what the clients are expecting. More and more clients are expecting beyond asset servicing. And this is the way basically that we are positioning ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you. Francois.
Look, I think I'd echo what Shiraz has said there around product differentiators, banking, footprint, etc. But at the end of the day, and this may be a little controversial, it's how important is the client to the institution? And that does vary. How much investment is the custodian or the bank investing into the custody business? Those two are the biggest differentiators. Because if a client is really important and we give the time and investment to it, we'll win it or we'll retain it. And I think that goes across the board. Now, how does that differentiate between the 3 of us around the table? Maybe not all clients are as important to each of us as we see, or at that point of pitching or servicing it.
And again, I agree, because I think the way in which we might describe it might be slightly different, but we're often talking about the same thing. And so I'll break it down into what I'll call access model, right? The traditional being able to either go in a sub-custody or a direct or sub-custody, or you leverage a global custody. You know, the future, because of technology and the way it enables things, is it's not a global custody or a direct or a sub-custody. It's an access model. What is your operating model on how you want to access markets? So whoever can give that to you in the most seamless, transparent, and efficient manner is going to win out, because that means that they've invested in their technology to remove redundant processing, batch processing, et cetera, throughout the chain. Yeah. The secondary thing is to understand that whether you're talking about private markets, alternative assets, digital assets, or traditional assets, the processing from that local market throughout that chain to eventually when it gets to the end client has various different hops and redundant processing along the way and enrichment of data along the way. So being focused on your data processing and moving to the utopian single event processing. So the moment it happens in the local market, the client has that level of information, is something that we all as an industry, as the main service providers, if you will, need to strive to achieve. And then the last point that I would make is at the end of the day, we talk about asset servicing, but really what's behind it is liquidity, financing, FX support, because you have to move money at the same time that you're moving all these securities and investments. And being able to move money on an instantaneous, real-time liquidity basis with the way the world is going is going to be paramount to supporting that. Now, all of us as service providers has ways to plug those gaps right now that the clients are facing, but ultimately that kind of capability is going to be here, and that's going to impact, and it goes to my earlier point about, I think it's good for us in the room because we're all investing significant amount of money, but this is where, single market, single region providers, it's very difficult for them to cope with the investment spend that is needed because of all this change that's happening in the industry.
Right. And final point, what excites you most about this region in the near future?
It's got to be tokenization, AI, and data, which are three of the topics we touched on today. In the immediate term, it's the data piece. AI is coming along, and tokenization is, look, to me, that's the other two are evolution. Tokenization is the revolution of it, and it will happen.
I'll say something slightly different just because, look, I like the fact that we're in Asia. It's an incredibly dynamic region. We have emerging markets, stable markets, well-established markets. You got everything from Australia, Japan, to Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, India. So it's so dynamic that I think it's going to keep us all busy with all of the things that we've been talking about here today. Which is different than the Americas and Europe. Yes, they also have pockets of emerging versus established, but you got 16 or 18 different, the way you look at it, markets in a very different time scale. And so that's going to keep us busy for a while.
Absolutely. And the tough task of going last on the final point.
No, thank you. No, fascinating time ahead of us. Again, I echo François and Phil. Diverse region, different level of maturity, fragmented maybe, but so much opportunities. The energy that we can see from our clients, from the regulators, the mindset, the right mindset in terms of innovation, in terms of leapfrogging, in terms of not waiting too much for others. Definitely a lot in our plate. So let's get ready, guys, definitely. Probably just to pick up what I see at least that will be on the top of the agenda from the region. Data. Completely agree with you. Data is definitely, I will say, the key element that we can maximize much more for the benefits of our client. As I was highlighting, the shift to private market. This is definitely, I will say, a key trend that we observe. And I would probably close by saying, let's not forget this, because we talk about technology and AI, this remains a people business. This remains a people business. We talk about client, trust, relationship, insight, knowledge sharing. So yes, it's a people business. Probably we will have to review and upskill with the emergence of all these new tools and technology, but definitely people will remain at the heart of what we do and probably doing that differently, but clearly this will remain a people business.
Some good messages there in terms of, we've talked about all the shiny new things, but we talked about the core services and the core of what we do, as well as it still being a people business. So look, it's been a wonderful conversation. I use an AI note taker actually that tells me at the end of a conversation the percentage of the chat that's been positive, neutral or negative, and I feel like this has been well in the 90% of positive. So great opportunities here, fascinating topics. François, Phil, Suraz, thank you so much for your time and thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's fun.